So a bit about our technology stack. We support relational database backends. We're using Python programming language with the Django web framework. We support any relational database that Django supports, and so you see those listed there. Runs on standard web servers, Nginx and Apache, and we have a client interface that's fully HTML5, JavaScript based. And so one thing I should point out as we move forward is that Harvest is a framework. It's not shrink-wrapped, ready-to-use software. The idea is that we're providing components here that allow you to build custom biomedical data discovery applications. So we out of the box, there's not an installer, a setup that's going to run, and you're going to have this fully running application ready to go with your data. It does require a bit of effort to configure and add in the pieces that you want. But in this way, as you'll see, you do have the flexibility to configure it for different usage scenarios. So a bit about about the architecture. We have a client-side part of the application that we call Cilantro. This is the HTML5 JavaScript client. We have Serrano, which is the REST API to all the server components, and then I'm going to spend quite a bit of time talking about Avocado in a few moments, which is really the heart of everything and is the abstraction and metadata layer. This is what allows us to present all the data, all the graphs, the search capabilities, and really produce the reports and queries. You'll notice a theme here, I think. Cilantro and Serrano, just a few words about that. We really try to keep a clean separation of the user interface from the application side, and so everything is driven through APIs. So all of Serrano's APIs are driving the client. There isn't any intermingling of the client with the server-side components, and so this really allows for some interesting scenarios in the area of custom user interfaces, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. And it really provides a strong foundation for programmatic access to the back end, so being able to actually write scripts and code against the API. And since we're using it in the user interface, we've been our own customers, so to speak, on that front. So just an example of what this looks like. For a typical graph that you would see in the user interface, the web browser gets this data payload from the server, and it renders it into a graph like this. You can see over here that we also have the operators that are available and all of the necessary information that's required to provide the user interface with what it needs to construct a query. So I want to spend some time really talking about Avocado and talking about some of the abstractions that we have, because I think these are really the fundamental concepts that it's important to understand and understand what Harvest is providing. So there's really three major components here that it's important to understand. We have concepts, which are really the logical abstraction of database columns. We have translators, which are a way to provide very custom query conditions, and we have formatters that allow you to have context-aware data representations. And all this is very general, so I think I'll give you a few examples, and it should become clearer. So concepts are the foundational abstraction that drives all of Avocado. And just to give you an illustration of what this looks like, we'll continue with the food analogies here. So if you have something like 2 tablespoons of butter, you can think about this as a quantity, a unit, and an item. And when you store this in a database, you'd likely want to separate these. You'd likely want to have an integer value for your quantity. Your unit might be a string. You might have another table with ingredients that has a string in it. And you would store these as really 3 discrete things. But together they are a concept. And in the sense that you would like in the user interface to always present them together. If you were querying on one of them, you'd like to present the others together, so on and so forth. And this is really the fundamental piece of Avocado that allows us to have an interface that reflects what researchers are expecting. So if I give a medical example here from our AugenDB project, we have results for 1,000 hertz behavioral hearing tests, and you don't necessarily need to know all the details of hearing testing, But basically, this test has a database table, stored in a database table with response values, which are integers, and then various flags that are present that sort of modify that result. And so in the query interface, you want to present these together. You want end users to not have to think about the fact that they have to go digging around looking for this, in this case, this vibrotactile response or masking. You would like to present all these as one unit, and so concepts allow you to do that. They allow you to group these things, and they don't necessarily. I mean, for illustration purposes, these are all presented from the same table, but there's nothing that requires them to be from the same table. They could be elements that are spread out across multiple tables. And then finally, in output, you want to be able to format them in the way that makes the most sense in the context that the user is in. And so in this case, if you're looking at these in a web browser, you might do some sort of formatting like this with some coloring and some text. But when you export to Excel, it's extremely inconvenient to have numbers mixed with text, as anybody who's taken data extracts from a lot of systems knows. And so you really want these broken out so that you can do math operations on numerical fields and have all the other pieces broken out into logical components. The other thing that Avocado provides is the notion of a dynamic query. So we really want end users to feel as though they're working with a giant Excel spreadsheet. And so the way we accomplish this is that we basically take in the query columns, so these would be the conditions that you're using to filter your data, and then the output columns that you've chosen for your report. And then Avocado can actually construct the necessary joins between the tables in the database that allows it to traverse the whole data model and execute the query. And so this allows you to have interfaces that are very simple, because the end user doesn't actually have to know about these various data models, but at the same time, it gives you the flexibility of actually having a nice, clean relational database design.